Hi everybody. A little update on my hair here. I ended up giving in and um, tweaking it a little bit to make it look a little bit lighter. I put a little bit of highlights. You can see I try to make them look a little bit natural. Here's a mess. But that's the highlights here, and then some highlights here. I did it all by myself, and it wasn't from a kit. I had bleach left over from It's Bleach by, I'll show you in a minute. Extra strength cream hair bleach. Got it at Walmart. And all I did was just mix some in there and put it in my hair. On just some strands of hair to lighten my hair up. And that's it. That's all I did. And it turned out okay. I mean, in some lights you can't really tell. But I can see some. I try to do some behind me here too. I don't know if you can tell. You can't see behind me. But I try to do a couple of them behind there. Hopefully I did that okay. So that's an update on my hair. And another thing is I have mentioned that I have bipolar and a learning disability in a previous video, and I have applied for SSI benefits. I think it's been over a year now. Still don't have it yet. I'm still fighting it, and I'm appealing it right now. So hopefully it goes through. And other things that I have wrong with me are, well, I shouldn't put it that way, but other things I do have are knee problems. Basically my knees are losing its cartilage, and basically there's cartilage and tissue in there, but not much. My bones are just grinding like this together, and it's all constantly crack. And I also have scoliosis in my back, and it's just a small case. It's not very severe, as you can tell. I can stand up straight, but there is some curve. But this is what I was told by, a specialist. So I do have back problems too. And then I have, like I said, knee problems. And then I also have migraines and headaches almost every day. Mostly every day it's just a headache. And sometimes they turn into migraines if I'm depressed or whatever. And that's basically what it is. And I applied for SSI basically because the fact that I cannot work. Don't blame me. I have tried. I applied at Wendy's fast food restaurant, and I got the job. And this was back in 2008, and I worked there for 2 weeks until I got my first check. Couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the stress. I couldn't handle my knees constantly hurting, and I couldn't take any breaks. They said that my shifts don't take breaks, and I only worked like 5 hours, so they said that it's not enough for me to take a break. And I just couldn't handle it. When I was working the drive-thru, they're constantly, people are constantly yelling at me. It gives me a migraine, gives me a headache. Like I said, I would stand there, for 5 hours straight. No breaks, nothing. And it hurt my knees, my back was hurting. I have a headache, migraine, and I get all confused, and I'm doing the cash register, I'm doing the change thing, where I have to, take their money and get the change. I do okay, but I'm always short in my cash register, and, the boss lady or whatever, she's like, why are you always short? Nobody ever else is short, and it's like, I can't handle it, so I got my check, and I quit. The first job I ever had was through my school, when I was in a class with learning disability students. We had the opportunity to work at Goodwill in Marinette, Wisconsin. And I worked through my school. And I was lucky to have a check that had maybe $30 every 2 weeks. And that was the highest it ever went. The lowest was maybe 10 or 15. And that's all I made. I went to school, and then after lunch, I went to Goodwill on a bus. And it was a small bus. And with other disability students who were either worse or maybe better than I am. I don't know. Basically, when someone sees me in public, they don't notice any disabilities. It's all about slow learning. I learned very slowly, and that's what they diagnosed me as when I was in first, second grade. So I'm a slow learner, that's what they said, and that's basically it right there. So that was my 2 jobs. And Goodwill was a really nice job, and I loved it, and I could handle it. And honestly, if I were to move back to Marinette, I could probably have the job back, and I could deal with that. I could deal with the $30 every 2 weeks. Actually, I probably would work more, because when you're in school, when you're in high school, when I was in high school, you can't work overtime. But I tried to sneak in overtime, and I got in trouble for it. So I was working extra hours. So they didn't fire me, but my teacher said you only can work certain hours, and I can't go and work more hours. And that's how I got $30 a couple of times until they found out about it. But unfortunate things happened, and I had to move to my mom's. There was problems with my father. He's I don't care who reads this. I don't care if my family ends up seeing this. He's a druggie. He was a nice guy. He was, until he was influenced. Well, he was always influenced under drugs. But he was always more into the drugs when he was dating these women. And then he got married a couple of times. And at the time I was in high school and working at Goodwill, he was married to my stepmother at the time. I'm not going to say names. But she was actually bipolar herself. And she was also in a very bad car accident when she was younger. and almost died. She was very mean to me, a lot. And my dad didn't do nothing about it. She would smack me around and call me names, have her children call me names. Um, I was always very, very thin, and a couple of times it happened, a few times it happened, and they would eat dinner, and I'd fall asleep because I was very lightheaded and very tired and didn't eat that much, and they were really strict, and they didn't wake me up. They didn't wake me up. They said it was my fault. So I missed dinner. Oh well, she says, oh well, you shouldn't have been sleeping while I'm lightheaded. I don't eat that much. And I fell asleep and I'm tired. And it's because only last time I ate was at school. And there's, I always get in trouble for eating a little bit too much in the fridge, or, oh, don't go in the fridge. And there's always some sort of excuse. Anyways, they didn't wake me up and I missed dinner. And they said, well, you shouldn't have been sleeping. I didn't have that much to eat, you know, and sometimes I didn't have free lunch because, you have a certain income to have free lunch. And sometimes my friends got me food, and sometimes my dad wouldn't get me Lunchables or, you know, whatever. But as you can see, I do have some sort of learning disability because I have a hard time talking sometimes and trying to figure out what I should say. I get confused sometimes when I'm putting my words out there. But anyways, back at the subject. I did not have a good childhood, and there was sometimes I was happy, and sometimes I was abused, neglected, and it was a lot of verbal abusing and sometimes physical abusing, like my stepmother. She would slap me a lot. And I would go to school with a bloody lip or swollen mouth, and they would ask me, what happened? And I was told a lie. And one time, I couldn't tell a lie. I couldn't tell them a lie and say I got hit with the basketball or something like that, when it wasn't true. I told my teacher, I said, my stepmother hit me. And she says, are you okay? And I started crying, obviously, because I was really upset. And then she obviously called the counselor, and the counselor talked to me, and the counselor called social services. The social services came over to the house. Of course, I got more trouble, and I didn't want to go home, so I stayed at my friend's for a while until she forced me to come home. Of course, I was smacked then again, and then grounded. And there was just times where I wanted to run away, and there was times where I said I want to move back with my mom, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. My dad had full custody of me, and my mom had some visitations, but my dad just sometimes didn't allow it. So, and he had a lot of power and a lot of police friends and stuff like that. So he took advantage of my mother, and I always wanted to go over to my mother's, and I couldn't. And I ran away once, and my sister helped me out, and I went to my mom's. I ended up at my mom's, and then my father and my stepmother at the time, they lied to me. Oh, we'll take you to Six Flags. We'll treat you to dinner if you come home. Nothing. I fell for it. I went home. And, of course, the neglect and the abusing started again, and I was grounded, and, for doing what I did and running away like that. My mom couldn't do nothing. She was sorry. And when I was 17 in Menominee, Michigan, that's where I was located at the time. You're an adult. and you can leave. And when I left, and I had a chance to leave, I took that chance. And I told my dad, I said, I'm leaving, and I'm not coming back. You don't care, obviously. You choose your wife over me. She puts me in jail. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. And you bail me out. And then it's all my fault. And you say you're going to get a divorce, and then you don't go through with it. And then you stick up for her and go back with her after what she did to me. And she says, oh, I forgive you, but then she, whatever. I didn't do nothing. And she wants, okay, forgive me then. No, I'm not going to forgive you. You put me through hell through my life. And I'm going to stick around and have you continue to put me through hell? No. So I had to leave, and I had to finish my senior year with my mom. And they came and got me on Father's Day. And my father said these words. He said, fine, go live with your mother. She doesn't give two shits about you. Excuse my language. Something like that is what he exactly said. And I said, fine, I don't really care. And I walked up the stairs and I slammed the door. This video is starting to get long. Anyways, about the jail thing. One night, my dad and her were separated, okay? And I forgot to lock the door. And he changed the locks on the door, so she couldn't get in. I forgot to lock the door. She comes barging in. Starts taking over. I'm on the phone, folding laundry or whatever, folding towels. And I'm on the phone with my boyfriend that I was dating at the time. And she goes, get off the phone. I'm here now. Get off the phone. I said, no, you don't just come here and you guys are taking a break and because you're always fighting all the time and my dad said for you to leave. And now you come back and be all bossy. No. And then she's like, get off the phone. And she takes the phone and hangs up the phone. I didn't get to say goodbye. So, and then she said, well, I'm going to take a shower. I said, you're not even supposed to be here, And then she says, well, this is my house. I'm not going to have someone tell me what to do. And I said, you know what, I'm not arguing with you. You better go to bed, she says. You got school in the morning. And I said, no, I'm not going to bed. I'm not going to bed. You're not my boss. I'm not going to let you tell me what to do anymore. Smack. Right across the face. And actually it made me bleed a little in my mouth because my gums are really sensitive. And I just had enough. And I recently didn't cut my nails. They were growing a little bit long. And she was, yelling in my face. And I tried to shove her away and I scratched her here a little bit. And she freaked out. You attacked me, she said. You attacked me. I'm calling the cops. I said, go right ahead. So she pretends to talk to my father on the phone. She didn't die on the phone. I was sitting right there. She's pretending to talk to him. Oh, should I just call the cops? Your daughter's, she attacked me. And she claims that he said, yeah, call the cops or whatever. He didn't know anything about it. He found out I was in jail after I spent the night. And my little sister Morgan told him. Sorry, I shouldn't have said her name. Anyways, she told my dad. My dad's like, what? And so he went to the jail and he bailed me out. At the time, couldn't see really well because my glasses were ripped off my face by my stepmother, which I thought was not going to be my stepmother, were ripped off my face, and she threw them. So, this is not the first time we had fights. She's always fighting with me. She was always teasing me about my learning disability. There's always something. So I had enough. When I was 17, I said that's enough. He didn't he wanted to take her back after he got the divorce papers and everything. He took her back. I had enough. I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to stay there. I called my mother and I told her I wanted to come live there. Of course, she said, okay, yeah, you're 17. You can do what you want now. So that's what happened. I went there and everything went uphill. Kind of. I was stressed. But that's another story. And since this video is getting really long, I cannot, tell anymore about what happened after that, after I moved. But my childhood was hell. When I don't know if it was because it's really back in my memory, but this is way before I even met Tori. Yes, I'm going to say her name. My dad's wife right now. I was like maybe before kindergarten, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I was molested a few times. I can't remember that much, but I do have a slight memory. I was probably maybe 5 or 6. And I was taken advantage of by a 30-some-year-old man. And it haunted me for a long time. I had dreams about it. And of course, my brother and my sister were also involved in that. And he was babysitting us, and he was the brother of my father's girlfriend. And of course, my father didn't do nothing about it when he found out. My mother found out, and she proceeded to go forward and take him to court and try to take us away. And of course, I ended up staying. Actually, I think she got custody of us, and then my dad took us away after that for a while, being in school up there when our mother lives. But I cannot change the past. The point of it is my past is my past, and my past was horrible. And I want to look forward in my future and not be made fun of because of my learning disability and because of my bipolar, or because maybe I limp one day because my knees are hurting. And people can be very cruel in the world, and be really, really cruel and tease you about something. And if you have a way where you can get away, you do it. I mean, you don't tolerate when someone teases you, calls you names, abuses you, neglects you. If you have a chance to get away from that, which I did, I took that chance. And I got away. Don't ever let anybody let you down, tease you, neglect you. And thankfully now, the law is more stricter than it was when I was a child, because obviously I would have been taken away. But I wasn't taken away. And when I was a child, I was neglected, and nobody did anything. Social services came over all the time. Nothing was done. Nothing was done. My mother tried everything to get us kids away from my father. In the end, I was the only one left. My brother and sister were, with my mother, far off, doing their own thing. I was the only one there, and he took advantage of that. So, that's the end of my video. And I hope my video helps people who've been abused, neglected, raped, anything in that manner, to not give up. I am going to keep my head high and hope for the best for my son. And I'm not going to neglect him. I'm not going to hit him. I'm not going to put him in danger. I feel I'm a good mother. that I will always, always be a good mother and not hit my son or neglect him or use words and tease him. I hope this video will get views. I usually don't get many views on my videos, but I hope I get comments, and please, please, please don't make any harsh comments about me. I can handle them. I've handled a lot through my life, but it just is not worth putting bad comments down below. I mean, if you didn't like the video, you shouldn't have watched it all this time. So, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.